Let's talk about some wine. Today, we're gonna talk about two grapes that I love, Gamay and Syrah, but specifically Beaujolais and Northern Rhone Syrah from Cornas. Two wines that I love to drink, but I've also struggled with identifying them when they've been in front of me in a blind tasting. There are some similarities, but there are some differences as well that we're gonna talk through today. Why are they similar? Well, they're grown about 2 hours by car from each other. Beaujolais, and then further to the south is the Northern Rhone in the village of Cornas here. They're both grown on granitic soils, which is key when you're looking at the terroir of the wine and the flavors that come through from that. Also, when it comes to the winemaking process, there are some similarities. They both start with a whole cluster approach to the winemaking. What that is they have the grapes and the stems going into the tank. On the Beaujolais side, they use carbonic maceration, closing the top, pumping in CO2 into the tank, and the grapes actually start to ferment by pressing down and crushing each other. They take a more traditional approach to winemaking in the Northern Rhone, but put the whole cluster into the tank and then ferment it traditionally. With those stems, you get a little bit of a greenness or a little bit of a savory characteristic. Also, being on the cluster, instead of picking out only the ripe berries, there are a combination of ripe and underripe berries as well that gives a nice little balance to the wine as well. And the color extraction can be similar, but it really depends a little bit more on the specifics of where they're from and the age of those. But we're gonna dive in and take a taste. So let's get after it. So taking a look at the two, they're both purple, but different shades of purple. On the Beaujolais, you have more of the purple going out to more of a translucent rim. You can actually see through this. When it comes to the Syrah, really dense. So this is more of a purple magenta and not much rim variation, just dense all the way through. Thicker skin on the Syrah than the Beaujolais, which is why we're seeing that. When it comes to the nose, Beaujolais is definitely fresher in terms of the fruits, more of the red fruits, a little bit tart, light floral, but fresh flowers, red flowers like roses and violets. On the nose here, it almost smells purple. This is where the fruit is more in the black and the blue fruit, but a much deeper concentration of the aromas. A little bit of meatiness, almost bacony quality that comes through. And while the florals are there, they tend to be dried. So it's rose petals that are dried, it's violets, and also dried savory herbs as well, which is another key characteristic that I'm getting out of the Syrah. Delicious. The fruit is much tartar on the palate. So we're talking cranberries, tart cherries, the cherry pits, even cherry stems that are coming along with it. Not really going much beyond that. When it comes to Syrah, these fruits are more cooked, starting to dry and desiccate. So we're in the blackberries, the brambly wild fruits such as that, a little bit of the blueberries, but it's a combination of both ripe and underripe, which we're getting from that whole cluster being used at the start of the fermentation process. In terms of those floral characteristics, these flowers actually taste fresh, just starting to wilt a little bit. You have that meatiness, but it's like a raw meat coming through. Cured bacon quality to it. And that minerality, it's almost like a mouthful of rocks coming in here. Have you ever had those whiskey stones that probably an aunt gave you for Christmas many years ago that are sitting in the back of your freezer? If you've ever licked one of those, it just tastes really minerally, and this is what I'm getting out of this. And I think that's one of the things that I love about both these wines is how they express their terroir and where they're grown, but have their own unique way of expressing themselves as well. But the key factor when it comes to blind tasting that I always go back to is the structure, because the structure doesn't lie. So let's talk about the structure. So on the Beaujolais, acidity is medium plus, I'd say here. I'm salivating, it's juicy. It's really waking up my palate. Tannins are moderate, and so is the alcohol. So it's sort of right in the middle there. When it comes to Syrah, acidity is medium to medium plus, so there are some similarities there, but it's more tannic. I'm getting medium plus tannins here, starting a little bit of drying out here, and the alcohol is elevated as well. So I think when you're looking at those, color is one thing that really is a tell on the site. Overall, this one has more bass to it, more depth. This one is more the treble, the lighter, elevated characteristics. But I think you should go pour 2 glasses and see for yourself. Cheers.